And hello, everybody. This is MJ Hernandez, also known as your host for This is A's Weekly, the only show that covers your Oakland Athletics in the Baseball Podcast Network. We'd also like to thank the Baseball Podcast Network for giving me this opportunity in giving you guys a little good show. And this is our 10th episode. We are going to talk a lot about the trade deadline and what has been going on in Oakland. And hopefully you guys have fun, and hopefully you guys enjoy the show as much as I enjoy giving you guys this information. So we are going to start in a few after these messages.
First, second, third, home. Oakland, athletic feet, ballin'. 4 quarters, 9 innings, only as good as your last winning. I'm grinning, corner bending, goes open. Ghost riding, boat smoking, when you come to Oakland. Hold it down for the bay, yeah. It's a rap in the spot. Car around with tremendo slap. Move to the town.
And there you go. That is a little hyphy movement that we got going over here in the Yay area. The area that makes it popping over here in the Bay Area. Kick the Sneak, always a great time hearing him. You guys get a little taste of what we hear over here in the Bay Area, so good thing we introduce that as we do every week, or try to do it every week. So the Oakland Athletics 62-48, a very, very interesting week that we just finished off, going 4-2. That is mixed with the Brewers and the Texas Rangers. So far we enjoyed a little bit of interleague play. There's been a lot of trades that have happened, and we are going to get to that soon, but the Oakland Athletics still the second spot in the wild card for the second week in a row. So that is something that is going to be a very interesting, very, very interesting thing to watch going forward as the season progresses. So that is very, very, very interesting of seeing this Oakland A's team trying to pull off this big surprise of a victory, and hopefully they can contribute in further seasons to go by. Now, the baseball reference page, the page that I usually use for the statistics and everything, has us making the playoffs, and has us as a 53% making the playoffs. Now, 62-48, that is a very, very good place to be. That's 14 games over 500. For those that don't know what 500 means, that means that you are basically winning more than half of your games, basically. So you have a very good chance in making some postseason runs. Oakland Athletics making the most recently one from last year, where they lost sadly against the New York Yankees, but it was still something to be proud of. Oakland has a lot to be proud of for what they're going for right now. So it is something that the Oakland Athletics can continue doing with this young team, and it's definitely going to be something that is going to be proud. As an Oakland A's fan, I'm very proud of this team, what they've overcome, because they have been hurt with a lot, and surprised a lot with these injuries that have been kind of bothersome to these Oakland Athletics. Now, the next 3 series that we do have in this upcoming week, today we had the very, very rare off day on a Friday. Tomorrow we are going to get started with the St. Louis Cardinals. The St. Louis Cardinals are also looking for a little spot in playoff contention, and they are dealing with their own division as well. So the A's will face a very good Cardinals team this weekend. Then they're going to go to Chicago. They are going to go versus the Cubs, and then they're going to go the other side of Chicago with a series against the White Sox. Now, is this convenient for us? St. Louis is going to have its own series, but staying in the next 2 games in Chicago, that is not too much traveling. And you already know what the A's started off the year in the beginning of the year in Japan, and you know how much that can affect the game of the players. They have to just travel along, and it's very tiresome. And I can only imagine, man. It's a lot of things that the A's had to deal with in the beginning, and after that, literally just been going back to back in road games. And this is a nice nice, good break for them, especially after finishing a good long home series that they just had with the Brewers and the Texas Rangers. And then they get to go stay a whole week in Chicago. So that's going to be something interesting to see what they can do. The Cubs are making noise as well. So don't think that they are some team that we're going to just run over easily. The White Sox have a very respectable team as well. So hopefully we get a good week of Oakland A baseball, and hopefully we are on the winning side. So trade rumors have ended. There's no more trades going on. The 31st of July at 1 o'clock over here in the Bay Area time, that was the deadline. That was the last of the moves that were going to happen. Everything else, moves that you see going forward, that is just pickups from free agency, or you get to claim players that get designated for assignment. For those that don't know what designated for assignment means, let's go over what that concept is. Every team has 25 men in the roster, and every player is given a good number of options. Now, every time you demote someone, every time you bring down someone from the 25-man roster that is in your 25 active man roster, that counts as an option. When a player loses all options and they get brought down, that is called designated for assignment. That means a team is able to pick them up after using all those options. So that is the only way you can get a player as of right now. And if you want them to be in the playoff picture, if you want them to be participant of the playoffs, let's say they have a very good 2 weeks and you're confident enough to give them a spot in the playoffs, because the playoffs as well only gives you 25 men in the roster, and you happen to claim someone from another team, that has to go down by the 31st of August. Any acquisitions, any pickups that you get after the 31st, those players are ineligible to be a part of the playoffs. Same going with minor league free agency. Minor league free agency, any free agents, any players without a job, if you get them after the 31st, they are ineligible to be a part of your playoff roster. Now, what does this help out with? Any teams that are most likely not making playoffs, they don't really care about using up that space. So they're going to acquire whoever they want. They're going to pick up whoever they want. And they do not mind passing the 31st deadline. But the A's, however, are a team that's in that playoff run. Any move that they make after that, they need to be really, really, really careful on who they bring in. You know, injuries happen as the second half of the season starts. You start seeing these injuries pick up from the workloads that these players are given. So anything can go. So hopefully the A's are smart on who they pick up, who they bring in to be in this playoff picture, because it's going to be a very, very busy week of August baseball. Because we all know when September comes in, we start knowing and we start seeing teams being faded away from playoff pictures that you see in July, and you start seeing who and having a better idea who is going to be legit and who is going to be in the playoffs. The A's are not too far ahead of the wild card spot. They are tied for that second spot with the Tampa Bay Rays. The first place team on that wild card spot is the Cleveland Indians. Now, the A's are 2 games behind Cleveland, and Cleveland just got done making some big moves. They got Franmil Reyes, young player, 23 years old, from San Diego, hit 27 home runs so far, and he was traded to the Indians in a 3-team trade. That also got the Indians Yasiel Puig, the Cuban, that hit 22 home runs so far this season as well. The 18-year-old Victor Nova, Logan Allen, the big time prospect that was with the San Diego Padres as well, who is a left-handed pitcher who is going to give them very, very, very good amount of basically depth that they're going to deserve. Logan Allen's bringing that to the Indians as well. Scott Moss, and also San Diego got Taylor Trammell. That's the only player that they got that the Padres received after giving up Franmil Reyes and Logan Allen and Scott Moss. Cincinnati got the Trevor Bauer type of treatment because they just acquired Trevor Bauer. Now, the other 2 teams only got 1 player. The team that I'm very much focused in is the Indians, because they're the only teams that is above us in the wild card spot. So that is the team that really worries me. They got more hitting. The hitting is coming in their way. Pitching, we already know that pitching, they struggle. And the bullpen is probably a little more likable than the starting rotation. So what is going to be the plan for Cleveland going into these deeper times and making the postseason? They are just going to out-hit every team. The pitching is kind of whatsoever not that great. Daniel Salazar is someone that always goes to the injury list. They lost a good pitcher in Trevor Bauer after that little tantrum that he had on the mound when he threw his glove in the ground and then the manager came and took him out. You already saw the mess going down in there, and they actually got a pretty good deal after all that situation, because I was thinking that no team was going to pick him up after that, but turns out the Cincinnati Reds were very much interested in Trevor Bauer, and it gave up a lot for him. So that is something that the Indians are going to try to do. They're just going to out-hit everybody. It's just a matter of time who is going to face the Oakland Athletics in that wild card spot. They are still technically in the mix of first place, but Houston had very, very great moves as well. Now, the only reason why I'm talking about these other teams, because these are the teams that are only ahead of Oakland, so I'm going to talk about those two teams only. I'm not talking about the teams behind us. I am not talking about the first place teams in other divisions. I'm talking about the only two teams that are ahead of us in this wild card or in our division, and that is Houston and Cleveland. Those are the only two teams that are above us. Now, Houston, they got more pitching. Hitting, we already know. Houston is the top three, if not the best offensive team in the MLB. It is not even close. With the big time lineup that they have in Jose Altuve, they got George Springer. They can go and switch around with Carlos Correa, who's in the injury list but is close to coming back soon. They have a lot of coming in from the offensive side of baseball if you wanted to look at how serious they are. But something that they were lacking a little bit was another good starting pitcher, and they definitely got that. They just acquired Zack Greinke, the former Los Angeles Dodger top pitcher. Though you can say as good as Clayton Kershaw, he was there in Arizona available. Nobody was going to get him because of his big contract. So they trade for Zack Greinke. Zack Greinke for the next 2 years is owed $64 million. $64 million being not, that's including this year. So that is, or that's not including this year. That's the next 2 years. So that's next year and the year after that. That's $64 that the Houston Astros has added in their salary cap, which is a big salary cap. Cap, knowing that Verlander is there, because he's got paid a lot. Jose Altuve got paid a lot. So who knows? Who knows what Houston has up their sleeve? Because if they want to go over the luxury tax, we already know the teams have a certain budget that they can go over acquiring players. And if they go over the budget, they have to pay double of the whole team's salary. And that is something that is very big. Houston does have the money in case that they do that. But most likely, this roster is not going to stay on for that long, especially the veteran pitchers. So I wouldn't be surprised if I see Garrett Cole probably moved around, or some other player being moved around, a position player. Who knows? But they did get Zack Greinke, and to give them credit, Arizona did give them $24 million. So technically, if you minus the 64 with the 24, they're only paying $40 million for the next 2 years for Zack Greinke, a top of the rotation type guy. This technically makes Houston unbeatable in a playoff series. If you want to just call it that, I guess I don't even know what to make of it anymore, because that was the trade of the year. That was the trade of the century, you can even say, because Justin Verlander pretty much owns the A's every time he goes against them. Garrett Cole, I guess you can say the same with him, specifically because of the latest performance that he's had against them. And Zack Greinke added to that. That is 3 pitchers that are debatably top 20 pitchers in the MLB in one team. They are basically doing amazing with that outstanding offense, with that outstanding pitching staff, both starting and bullpen wise. This team is going to be legit. And I am very, very excited to see what they do in the playoffs. playoffs, because most likely they are going to keep that first place spot. I would love the A's to take that, but it is going to be hard for us Oakland A's fans. But it's not impossible. But you just got to be realistic here, because they also did make more acquirements,